Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Queer Journal. The Queer Journal is a podcast where I get to talk about all the queer topics that matter to me. This episode's a little bit different. This is going to be an audio-only episode because I have nowhere to record video this week. But anyway, happy 2024, everybody. I hope the new year is treating everyone well so far. I have had a pretty good start to the new year. I have a lot of things that I want to accomplish this year because I feel like 2023 I did not accomplish like half of what I wanted to. Probably more than that, like 3/4 of what I wanted to. But New Year, New Year. Say I'm tired of the saying New Year, new me. Girl, it's New Year, better me. I don't need a new me. This me is good enough. New Year, better me. But anyway, I want to take this episode to kind of reflect on 2023, both for the queer community and for myself. Because I feel like 2023 was a worse year than the community has had in a very long time. And that's just my perspective. That could be entirely wrong. But especially the trans community was targeted so much this year. And I mean, the whole community, the whole LGBT community in general was targeted this year. But I feel like trans people, and drag queens too, especially took the brunt of that. And I just want to take a minute to reflect on it. And I don't want to get super in depth about it because I will spiral into a depression for at least a week if I do, as I'm sure we all would, because this is just horrible news to reflect on. I think it is important to be educated on what is happening and what happened and what is probably going to happen going forward, unfortunately. Um, I know that there have already been things started to be put into motion in Florida in 2024. They didn't waste any time. I'm recording this on January 11th, and there are already things being put into place against trans folks. So yeah, it's not great for us in the South. But anyway, I want to kind of go over the bad that happened this year and the good, and this is not going to be all encompassing. This is just going to be kind of like a very broad review of everything that happened because I would probably be here for easily 5 hours if I went into every single bill that was passed or put into motion or proposed this year because people were really out for our throats this year, unfortunately. And I can only be hopeful for 2024. I'm very cautiously hopeful. There's a overarching feeling that it is going to get a lot hairier for us. But I'm holding on to hope. I'm holding on to hope that something will happen, that we don't have to continue fearing for our medical care or our ability to just be ourselves and express ourselves. I'm just very cautiously holding on to hope that something will shift and something will change and that we will once again just be free to be ourselves. But anyway, we'll start with the bad so we can end on a good note. I'm going to talk about the bad and then the good for the LGBT community, and then I'll talk about the bad and the good for me. And then we can all kind of brainstorm our intentions for 2024 and the goals that we want to have for 2024. So, starting on the bad for the LGBT community, there have been bans on trans healthcare. There were bans for youth healthcare in Florida, Montana, Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, Georgia, West Virginia, North Carolina, Kentucky, Indiana, Tennessee, Mississippi, Louisiana, Oklahoma, Missouri, Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, Utah, Arizona, and Idaho. So there were bans on a lot of, bans or restrictions on healthcare for trans youth in a lot of states. And I feel like a lot of it comes down to not being educated. Because from what I have seen, I didn't transition young. Well, I transitioned young, but I was an adult by the time I did. But a lot of the transitioning that happens for trans youth is not hormones. It's not surgery. It is socially transitioning a lot of the time and using things like puberty blockers, which are also used by cis teens who are going through puberty too quickly. And from what I know, puberty blockers are entirely reversible. Like, whenever you stop them, everything goes back, to how it was before. But there has been this narrative created that people are operating on children very frequently, and hormones are being given to teenagers very frequently. And of course, I know that happens. I know that there are people who transition very young and who do have surgery very young, but that is, from what I've seen of the trans community, that is few and far between. That is not a common occurrence at all, and I think it has been made to seem like a common occurrence because there have been a lot of people who have detransitioned, who are speaking out about it, who did transition young. And I have nothing against people who detransition. Like, I think it's a very strange narrative to pit the detrans community against the trans community. But I don't love when they go around and spread anti-trans narratives and try and bring the trans community down, because we are already going through enough, especially with the things that have happened in the last year. We are already going through enough. Just being trans in general can be a lot for some people. Like, it's not always an easy life to live. It has ups, downs, joys, sadnesses, and it's not for the faint of heart. And I've been very privileged in my transition where I've been able to be on hormones and I've been able to have surgery. But not everybody gets that. Not everybody has a family that accepts them. Not everybody is able to transition, whether it's because of a medical condition or money or whatever else. Not everybody is able to transition. Not everybody is able to be happy with their bodies. Not everybody's able to be recognized as the person they want to be. Not everybody's able to feel as a person that they want to be. And it's such a new, and I know that's a very broad detailing of being trans, but it's such a nuanced experience, and to make the existence of our trans people even harder, it doesn't make sense to me. And that's not to say our existence is only, sadness and hard things, but there's a lot of hard shit that comes along with it. And it's not easy to step into yourself so much and to claim such a large part of yourself and to know yourself on such an intimate level. It's not easy. Is it worth it? Absolutely. Am I glad that I get to be this person and live my true self? Absolutely. But damn, it has not been an easy route to get here. And it's usually not. So I think a lot of these bills and bans are rooted in a false narrative being spread. And I think a lot of these bills and bans are just rooted in not being educated. I think there is not enough time and effort spent educating themselves on the lives of trans people and what transitioning actually is and what youth transitioning actually is for them to actually speak on this. It's as simple as that. I think a lot of the problem in America with a lot of these bills is that there is just a huge lack of education. People are just doing things off of their beliefs, and they're not actually being educated, and they don't know trans people. They don't know how it affects trans people. They don't see that we are just people as well. So they're fighting against a force that does not have a face, and they're just doing whatever they see fit. Whatever they think is right, despite the studies that have been done on this and despite the mental and physical effects this has on people. But I think simple education could just go so far in this country. Simple education and a little bit of empathy for other people, even if they do fall outside of your beliefs. I think a little bit of empathy would go very far in this country, especially with the people who are in power right now. But anyway, to go back to what's happened this year, there have also been restrictions on adult healthcare in Florida. And this one hit me very hard because I do live in Florida, and there has been so much fear and confusion around what is going on and how we're supposed to navigate it, and it's just all so much. And this the restriction for this was that people who are on hormones are only able to go to a doctor, and they can't be seen by a nurse practitioner. They can't have testosterone or estrogen or anything prescribed by a nurse practitioner. All to be through a doctor. Which, that cut the amount of people who were able to provide care probably in half. There are not a ton of places available in Florida as is. Let me correct that. There are not a lot of places available in my area of Florida as is. Thankfully, and this is the only part that I can be thankful about, the place that I was going to didn't change how they were administering care. They were kind of already expecting this type of thing, so they did take the steps needed to make it so we could continue to have care. So I thankfully did not lose access to my hormones, and I'm still able to be on testosterone. Nothing has changed with that. But I know so many people who have lost that access and who are still on wait lists to be taken into places that are able to provide care, and it's created so much unnecessary stress for the trans community in Florida. And so many of us are already leaving. We're leaving Florida. And I don't blame anybody who has. I can't blame anybody who has, because I've thought of doing it myself. But, people are having to flee for their own safety. They're having to flee so they can continue to transition. They're having to flee so that their children can continue to be safe. They're having to flee so their partners can continue to be safe. And it's so sickening to me that anybody has to consider leaving the country or their state or their home because someone deemed that they weren't good enough to have basic medical care and to be happy. Because that's really what the root of it is. It's not about all of this political bullshit. It's not about all of these narratives that are being spread about us. What the root of all of this is that people just don't think that we're worthy of being people. They don't think we're worthy of being happy. They don't think we're worthy of basic medical care or whatever else. They don't think we're... And there have been people who have said that they want to eradicate transgenderism entirely. And that is a terrifying statement to make about any group of people. You can replace that, the misuse of transgenderism. You can replace that word with anything. And that is a terrifying thing to say. That it's just how... I don't understand how these people can have so much hate in their heart. I don't have it within. I don't have the capability and the capacity to hate someone. So when I see people so effortlessly hate someone else, I don't understand it. It blows my mind and it hurts my heart, and I don't understand it, because I don't even have it within me to hate the people who so desperately want to take away my basic needs and rights and mental health and bodily care and happiness. I can't even have it in my heart, within my heart, to hate them. I don't understand how you can so desperately hate yourself that you just have to take it out on other people. Like, I want to know what is going on in their brains and what is fueling them to so passionately hate us. Or maybe not even hate us, just dislike us, or want us to suffer, or want us to whatever. I don't understand what has to be going on with a person that they take it out this much on a group of people. It just, I don't understand it. In my opinion, I feel like the world would be a much better place if there was just a lot more kindness and understanding and empathy for one another. I really do. Maybe that's a naive thing to think, but I don't know. That's just how I feel, and I feel like we would just do a lot better if we were just kind to one another, and people just stopped hating other people for things that they can't control, like skin color, and gender, and sexuality. Like, let's just leave one another alone as long as they're not hurting other people, or hurting themselves. Let's just let everybody live their lives, and be happy, and experience joy, and do the things they want to do, even if we don't agree with them. As long as it's not, like, killing people or anything like that. Obviously. To go along with restrictions on healthcare in Florida, Medicare is also no longer able to cover transition-related expenses in Florida and also in Missouri. And this is also just another step towards kind of gatekeeping medically transitioning, because there were quite a few people who depended on Medicare to transition and cover the expenses of their transition. And things like hormones, which are needed every week or every 2 weeks for some people, or every month depending on the method that you have, or every day. Because if people use testosterone gel, that is a product and a medication that needs to be put on your body every single day. In 2023, Tennessee also prevented trans folks from changing documentation to reflect the correct gender. I fear that that is something that is going to be happening in a lot of states. I believe Florida has just put a bill in. I think they just filed the bill. I don't think it's in effect yet, but a bill that would essentially reverse gender changes on things like driver's licenses, because you'd have to sign an I think it's affidavit. I think I just said that right. But you'd have to sign one of those to declare that you have given your correct sex on your license, and it's not going by gender. It's not going to be labeled gender anymore. It's going to be labeled sex. So that is how they are twisting things. And that would pretty much make it so we all have to be like, oh yeah, I'm trans, and I'm gonna sign this paper and tell you that I'm trans. And I don't love that they're making it so that we are kind of like we have a target on our backs, even more than we already do. And I don't like the fact that they're collecting that information. I don't know what that means. I don't know what they're going to do with that information, but I don't love that that information is going to be collected. But I fear that more states are going to follow in the steps of Tennessee. And I was also born in the South as well, in a state that is somehow much more restrictive. Well, I don't know if much more restrictive. That is somehow much more hateful than Florida. So we'll see how that goes. I really hope it doesn't go in a bad way. I'm pretty sure all of us do. And I haven't seen a lot of updates on the one from Tennessee, but I hope that that is reversed because, you know, people should be allowed to change it. If they've been transitioning and living as their true self for however long, I don't. We'll not get into it, but I just don't see how it affects other people, truly. Multiple states have enacted restrictions for trans folks playing on the sports team of the correct gender. That has been a very hot topic over the last year, especially trans women participating in women's sports. I feel like the conversation is mainly geared towards that. I feel like I don't often hear about stories of trans men and people having issues with trans men playing on men's teams. I feel like it's trans women that they mainly point out because I don't know, they need to have a target to, you know, shoot at, and I think they just unfortunately chose trans women, and I don't know, I think it's ridiculous. I mean, these women go on hormones to have the same hormones as a cis woman, and we're still debating whether people belong in sports. So I think there's things in the world that are, I don't know, more hard hitting than who is on a sports team, you know. But yeah, it has been multiple states that have enacted those restrictions. And I'm sure more are continuing to follow in their footsteps, unfortunately. States like Idaho and Florida have also put restrictions on bathroom usage for folks using the correct bathroom. Florida has not specifically stated trans people. It is just stated people, pretty much just stating that someone who was like assigned female at birth can't go in the men's room, and some vice versa. Vice versa. They initially had it to restrict everything, so like even privately owned businesses like gas stations, restaurants, movie theaters, things like that. But there was a clause put in it that now it only applies to privately owned places like government buildings, schools, like universities, libraries, things like that. And that also goes for changing rooms too. So if people, you know, if a trans person is like on a university sports team, they're not allowed to use the correct locker room or bathroom or anything like that. Which there was slight relief when the clause was put in, but also it's like, okay, so if I was in university, you would want me, someone who has a beard and has a deep voice and has body hair and is male presenting and is a male, you would want me to go in the bathroom with a bunch of women and make them uncomfortable because you can't grapple with the fact that trans people exist. That makes not a lick of sense to me. Not a lick of sense to me. I don't use the bathroom in public. I don't. But for the people that do, okay. So yeah, okay, for sure. Makes a lot of sense. There's also been, in a lot of states, abortion restrictions or bans in general, and while that's not LGBT specific news, that does obviously affect people who are queer or trans. And it's just, again, stripping rights from people and their rights to their bodily autonomy, and I know it mainly affects women, but obviously trans men in general who haven't had hysterectomies. Obviously, our chances of getting pregnant on testosterone are lowered but it's not zero, and there's always a chance that it can happen. So it affects anyone with a uterus who has not had a hysterectomy. But obviously, it mainly affects women. So I don't want to ever take away from that conversation, because it does mainly affect women, and women should be uplifted to talk about this and talk about how important it is to have access to abortions. And in my opinion, I'm obviously not going to speak for women on this because they deserve to speak on this, because it affects them way more than it affects me. But in my opinion, I think there needs to be way more conversation about the foster care. If people are going to push so hard for abortions to not be allowed anymore, I think there needs to be a much greater conversation and emphasis on the foster care system, and greater conversations about certain restrictions there are for adoption, because some states try and push against LGBT parents adopting children. And I think that there needs to be way more conversations about how we treat the children who are born, who have parents that can't take care of them, don't have the money to take care of them, or who didn't want kids in general, and kids who are a product of assault and, sexual assault. And there needs to be greater conversation and greater care for those children. Because if we're going to try and ban people's bodily autonomy to make their own choice, then we need to up the care for the children who are being born into families that maybe didn't want kids, or who have parents who aren't financially able to support them, or who have parents who don't have the resources to support them. There needs to be more conversation around that. If we are going to pull back on people's bodily autonomy, then we need to have safe places for these children to go. Period. And I'm pro-choice all day long. It is your choice what you do with your body, whether you have a kid, whether you don't. I don't care. I am someone who never plans to have children, and I can't blame anybody else who doesn't want them. I could never have children. Yeah, there needs to be a lot of improvements before we're gonna, which we shouldn't be restricting anybody's bodily autonomy anyway. If we're gonna do that, if these people think that that's the right course, then we need to have conversations about how we're going to care for these children then. Period. Just that's what needs to be done, in my opinion. So now that we've covered a lot of negativity and bad things, I want to move on to the good, because there was some good that came out of the community this year. And despite all the terrible things that happened, it really did bring the community together. There were, from what I've heard, Pride festivals were still on, and they were bigger than ever. I think people were really taking this year as a opportunity, because of all the bad things that happened. They were taking this year as an opportunity to celebrate even more than they already have. And I know it also turned a lot of people away from Pride out of fear, which, again, entirely understandable. But I think it also rallied a lot of people together and made people realize that, they wanted to celebrate, and they celebrated in spite of all the terrible shit that was happening for this community. And I went to 2 Pride festivals this year, and one of them was over 200,000 people. So I think it definitely turned people out a lot to come to Pride and rally against the things that were happening. Multiple countries also decriminalized same-sex relations. There were bills in the U.S. that were reversed. I know some of the restrictions on youth trans youth healthcare in Florida were reversed, and I know a couple others happened across the state. So not all of them have been fully in effect. There have been a lot that were reversed and changed and modified, or just struck down entirely. There were a lot of celebrities that also came out and stood with the community. I know a lot of activism can seem performative, but there were quite a few celebrities who stood by and really supported us, and donated money to organizations that help the community, and were out there at Pride festivals as well, and rallying with us at protests and whatnot. So there were some big names who did come out and support us. Pedro Pascal, I'm looking at you, King. And to add on to the bad for just a second, we will end this on a high note, I promise. All of the drag restrictions that took place, I know in Florida there are restrictions that drag queens can only perform at places where kids are not, such as like 18 plus places like bars and whatnot. Totally just erasing the fact that not all drag is an 18 plus experience. Not all performances are 18 plus performances. There's drag brunches, there's drag, story times for kids. People are very misinformed about what drag is, and just don't understand the fact that it's a form of art and self-expression, and it's not everybody performs drag that is 18 plus. That's just it. Like, it's the same thing as not everybody makes like explicit music. There are people who make, quote, family-friendly music. There are people that cuss with every other word. That doesn't take away the artistry and the impact that either of one of those things could have. It's the same. It's the same thing. And like how much of a disservice is it to water drag down to adult 18 plus performances? Like, yes, is there artistry and creativity and expression in those types of performances? Absolutely. 1000%. But drag is such a wide range of things. It is such a wide range of performance and utilization of creativity and artistry, and it's so much more than what people water it down to be. And like my appreciation for drag has grown so much. Like I appreciate it in general, but I watch shows like Dragula and I follow a lot of drag queens on social media, and like I get to see them pouring themselves fully into their craft and like what they're creating and what they're doing and explaining the story of the characters that they're playing, and it's like it's beautiful. It is such a amazing art form that I don't see how anybody could just well it's all inappropriate and it's all blah, 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 blah. Like yes, like sure 18 plus performances aren't for everybody. Not everybody likes that kind of thing, but like you're taking away so much of the versatility and the wide spectrum of drag that there is when you do that. And I will always stand by the fact that drag is not a crime. It's an art form. It is beauty. It is grace. It is expression. It is the purest form of expression and getting to let yourself bleed into everything. And it's just it's beautiful. And it's a such a travesty that it's being seen as this. Okay. So I'm going to kind of move on to the bad for myself, and then we'll end on a good note. I'll talk about the good for myself, and then we'll kind of like talk a little bit about goals for the year, because I have a lot. I have a lot of goals, bestie. So the bad for me, I didn't really stick to my goals for the year. I set a lot of good intentions in 2023, and I kind of fell flat on most of them, but that's okay. I'm giving myself grace. 2023 was it wasn't like a terrible year, but it wasn't a great year either. And I was just feeling the weight of all the trans restrictions in my state and in general, and there was a lot of fear for me this year, and a lot of my anxiety kind of spiked again, and I've gone through pretty rough patches with anxiety in 2023, and I've gone through some scares with not like health scares, but health related stuff, and I got COVID this year, which that sucked. Yeah, I didn't achieve a lot of what I wanted to, and I didn't really practice self-care or self-love in general. I have gotten significantly better at it, but 2023, like, that kind of fell by the wayside, and I didn't make progress with my business like I wanted to. I didn't make progress with my health like I wanted to. I didn't do a lot of the things that I want to do, and make friends and get out of the house and go on trips and go on vacation. I didn't go on a single vacation. I've been going on a vacation in like 3 years, but like I didn't get to see my family this year during the holidays because I couldn't get off work, and it was kind of a bummer of a year a little bit. So let's move on to the good. Bring up the positivity a little bit and move on to the good. So I was given the opportunity to work with a LGBT organization in my state, and I got to help them put on events and help with their social media and help like put together events and like plan them and everything like that, and coordination and event coordination, things like that. So that was really awesome. That was a great opportunity, and I'm really glad I got to do it. And I do plan to continue working with them as a volunteer, since the paid portion is about to end. But that was a great opportunity. And I was also elected president for my local LGBT Pride organization, which was really, really awesome. I'm just starting that this year. My term starts this year, so that was very unexpected and very cool, and I'm very excited for it because I really want to grow this community, continue to give people a place to connect with other LGBT folks. Just make it obvious that we are here even in smaller towns and in the South. We're still here, and we always will be, and our community will always band together and be here for one another and support one another, and I want to continue making that obvious to people here. I'm also almost finished my ICF certification, which is a certification for coaching, so I just have to do a lot of coaching hours, and then I will be certified. So that is really exciting. I hope to get that done by May of this year. I started this podcast. That's another good that happened in the last year. I started to really figure out my spiritual beliefs and kind of hone in on my spirituality and really kind of narrow those down. And I am very multifaceted in my spiritual beliefs. I don't have one single belief, but it's been really nice to kind of narrow that down for me and like understand what I believe and understand why I believe it and just hone in on that and use it as a way to connect with myself and with others and the earth and everything around me. But yeah, I also hit 5 years on testosterone. I'm almost at 6 years. February is 6 years. I hit 4 years post-op as well. And I attended multiple Pride festivals this year, and I read a lot. Well, not a lot, but I started to read more this year and this last year, and I'm bringing that energy into 2024 as well, and I want to read much more. I've already read 4 books. It is January 11th, and I have finished 4 books, all of which have been at least 250 pages long. So I am on that reading train because I got a Kindle. Ooh, y'all cannot stop me with that Kindle in my hand. Y'all cannot stop me with that Kindle in my hand. I keep that dang on me. So now that we have kind of closed the chapter that is 2023, I want to talk about my goals for 2024, and I also want y'all to tell me a little bit about your goals for 2024 or your intentions for 2024. I want to hear a little bit about what y'all have going on this year and what's on the table for you, and what you want to do more of, what you want to stop doing. I want to hear all of it. So if you're comfortable with sharing that, I'd love to see you share that in the comments. I'd really like to see where y'all are planning to go for this year. So my goals for 2024 are to get healthier and lose some weight. I really want to start taking my health into consideration, and my main goal is not weight loss. I know that's going to happen though because of changing the way that I eat and exercising more and moving my body more, and just I really do actually enjoy exercising. I just don't do it very often, but I'm turning over a new leaf. But my main goal is not weight loss. My main goal is to just be more active and eat healthier, because I have started to have some things like reflux happen really badly, and my digestion and my stomach have just been like not great over the last couple years. So I really want to eat better and exercise more to help my digestion and help that reflux. And I know I'm going to lose weight in the process, and yeah, that's not my focal point anymore, because I've realized that in the past I have focused too much on the weight loss, and then that made me eat way too restrictively, and then I hated the stuff that I was eating, and then I'm like, okay, screw it, I'd rather go to like Chipotle than eat another green thing, you know? So I'm really trying to shift my intentions with that. It's a big goal for me to take my first paid client this year, so I am currently just doing like pro bono hours, like totally free coaching hours, but I'm really, really, really hoping that I can sell a package this year, because, oh my god, that would be a huge first step for me. I hope to be self-employed one day. I hope to make an income off of coaching and maybe online stuff too, but who knows. But I really want to be self-employed. So that would be the first big step for me, is taking my first big client this year. I also want to buy a car. I sold my car last year to pay for bills, because I went through some very, 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 very hard financial stuff last year. So I sold my car, but I'm hoping to buy a new car. And if I do buy it, I have a really, really fun plan for a paint job, and I'll share plans on that in the future if it comes to fruition, which it should. It should. I almost have enough, all the money that I need for a vehicle at the moment. So we will see how that goes. But yeah, I'm really excited to have a car again, because I'm very grateful that people around me have been able to help me and drive me places or let me borrow a car. But I definitely don't want to keep relying on people so much. I'd love to be able to come and go as I please, you know? But I'm very grateful that I even have people who are willing to let me borrow their cars and drive me places. I also want to be really consistent about content this year. I find a lot of joy in doing, especially my podcast, and I like making TikToks a lot, and I like streaming a lot. So I really hope to be able to be consistent with that, and maybe maybe grow this a little bit, even if it's, not huge growing. Maybe grow this a little bit because I want people to be able to enjoy the things that I have to put out there and relate to me and be able to have a place to talk about these things and just be able to be openly themselves. And yeah, but I want to grow. I want to be able to grow this and be consistent with my content and just make content that I'm proud of. I also want to bring my local community together even more and grow the community, like I mentioned earlier. I want to learn a new skill this year too. I think I'm going to try and learn how to crochet. I think I'm going to learn multiple new skills this year, but I think crocheting is going to be the first one that I do because I want to get back into being creative and just like honing into my creativity because I'm a very artsy person. I'm very left brain. I like to draw. Whoa, sorry about that. I like to draw and just create things, and so I want to get back into doing that kind of thing. My second skill I'm learning this year is learning bass guitar. I bought a bass guitar like 4 months ago, have not touched it once. Partially because the strings are rusted, so I need to figure out how to replace those. But that's another skill I want to learn this year. I want to learn bass guitar. I also just want to get creative. I want to get back into painting. I want to learn how to paint. I want to do all this stuff. I want to work on self-love a lot. Like I said, in 2023, that lacked a lot. So I definitely want to get back into self-care, nurturing myself, taking myself out on dates, just doing a lot for myself and my inner self, and like journaling and meditating and being in nature and dancing, like all the things that fuel me. I want to start doing more of that because I deserve it, damn it. I deserve it. I deserve to love myself, and I deserve to care for myself, and I deserve to give myself adequate care and stop letting myself fall by the wayside. So I want to focus a lot on self-love this year. I also want to save a lot of money because, like I said, I went through some pretty tough financial stuff in 2023, so I want to really work on my financial spending habits because I might have a little bit of a problem with spending, but I want to work on that and save a lot of money this year. I want to save a lot of money for my future. I'd love to be able to buy a house for the next couple of years, so I really want to save up for that and to save up for car stuff and upgrading certain technology and stuff like that, but mainly to buy a house in the next couple years. So I really want to fix my money bullshit and get back on the horse. I also want to make friends this year. I have some great friends. I love my friends, but a lot of them are hundreds of miles away from me, so I don't get to see them very often. So I really want to make friends where I live now and have my community here too. I want to have communities I can go to in both places, back home and here. So I really want to put myself out there and go to social events and make friends. I want to read more books. My goal for this year is 25, which I hopefully will be able to hit. I think I will because I'm already at 4. I've been reading like nonstop. So I think I can do that. I think I can hit 25. And I also want to be more intentional with my time and cut down on my screen time. I am a professional procrastinator and time waster. So I think really working on my intentionality and just stop inundating myself with the plague that social media can be. My screen time is far too high. So I'm trying to really work on that. And like I have restrictions set for myself on my phone. Like my phone goes into downtime at night. And I've honestly, getting a Kindle has really helped. I'm really hoping that helps get my screen time down in general. And honestly, if I have a good book, girl, Twitter does not exist to me. Instagram does not exist. YouTube does not exist. The most that I do is I put videos on in the background on like Twitch or YouTube while I'm reading because I like to have multiple things going on. I have ADHD, so I'm someone who likes a lot of stimulus at once. But I feel like that helps me focus on my reading more. But like that's when I'm reading, that is like the only thing I want on the background. Don't talk to me. Don't show me no TikToks. Don't show me no Instagram. Don't show me nothing. I'm good. Let me have my book. Let me have my me time. Because I will consume a book quick. I stayed up until 3 a.m. reading a book last night. And I finished it. And girl, it was so good. It was so good. Also, I'm thinking about starting a book club online. Like a book club podcast. I feel like that would be fun. I don't know. Well, I'll consider it. But I want to talk about the books I've read because holy shit. The one that I read last night, I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads. Yeah, I did. And it was Divine Rivals. Ooh. If y'all have read Divine Rivals, let me hear about it. Girl. What are we doing? Why are more books not like this? I gave it 4 stars because the pacing felt a little slow at some points, but oh my god. And that ending, wait. Y'all, I cannot. Maybe I will start a book club podcast. That would be fun. That'd be really fun. Okay, so anyway, that was all of my goals for 2024 and my intentions for 2024. So, like I said earlier, if y'all want a place to discuss those or share them, please tell me about what you achieved in 2023 or what you want to stop from 2023 and what you want to achieve in 2024. Just let me know all of it in the comments if y'all are comfortable sharing. And if you are still listening, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for tuning in. If you like my content, you can subscribe to my channel because from here on out, I'm going to be posting a podcast episode every single week. So look forward to hearing me on your headphones every single week. I also stream on Twitch, and all of my socials will be in the description below. I also want to know, do you guys like the video format better, or do you like the audio format better? I feel like I might like the audio format better because I can look raggedy and still talk to y'all and make a video out of it. So let me know which format you guys like better. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Queer Journal, and I will see you all next time. Bye!